on our EGROW. And I must mention at the beginning that EGROW, or the Foundation for Economic Growth and Welfare, was set up in 2018 as a research-based policy advice or a research-based policy advisory think tank. Our objective was that solid research should get into public policy before any recommendations are made. And then happened COVID, and in COVID we thought we will try to get the best minds across the world to come and speak to us. We wanted a blend of Indian and foreign scholars, so there's learning both ways. And I must tell you that in these 185 odd webinars which we have completed in the last 3 years, we have been successful in getting that blend. We have had 2 Nobel laureates. We did for the G20 T5, where we worked on the international economic order. We are working on empowering women, and we have done already 8 webinars on empowering women, and we have 4 more lined up in that series. So to that extent, EGROW Foundation is making an attempt to contribute into public policy. Today's presentation by Professor Parmod is exactly in line with that. I was discussing with Professor Prem a few weeks back that India's agriculture has the potential, and I many times wonder, is the cost of cultivation much higher than justified? And then Professor Prem had such bright ideas that I requested him if he could do this webinar for us. To chair the session, there could not have been anybody better than Dr. Ashok Vishandass, who is the founding director of EGROW, as well as himself worked very hard on agri and agri-related issues. And as a discussant, then we invited Professor Vashishtha. With his vast experience in the area, we thought it would be a very 360-degree rounded presentation today. So let me introduce Dr. Ashok Vishandass, who is chairing the session, and then I'll hand it over to him to introduce the speakers and carry the session forward. Dr. Ashok Vishandass, the expertise that he carries with him is agriculture economics, farm costs and prices, and applied statistics. He's now a professor, applied economics at IIPA, has an interest in sustainable agriculture, risk management, international trade and commerce. As ex-chairman CSCP in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare at the level of the Secretary to the Government of India, he has rich experience of formulation of agriculture price and non-price policies, nuances of fixing MSP, which I agree is a very big challenge, of various agriculture commodities. Before joining IIPA, he has also served FAO of United Nations as the Chief Technical Advisor in a stint with the UNO. He provided high-level technical and economic advice relating to food security, SDGs, agriculture marketing, and brought out 8 reports. Dr. Ashok Vishandass holds a PhD in agriculture economics and has done his master's in economics from University of Manchester, MBA financial management, and PG diploma in population and development at JNU. With this, I hand over the session to Dr. Vishandass to conduct the proceedings further.
Thank you, Professor Charan. He gave very lofty introduction, and I am thankful to you. And this also reflects his affection for me and his love for me. And I really express my gratitude for using such a wonderful introduction for me. Now let me be very at the outset, let me see this particular session on reforming agriculture would not have come at a better time this is the day when we just lost Professor M.S. Swaminathan, who left us yesterday. And this to me is a just, I won't say it's a coincidence, but maybe God, the divine power, must have done something that we are organizing this particular webinar on reforming agriculture, land input, and technology. Let me give just 1 minute for Professor M.S. Swaminathan. His work to the agriculture and his contribution is known to the not only all Indians but all over the world. He was the father of the nation, a father of the agriculture in India, and I must say, because I also had many occasions to talk to him personally, and I'm not able to forget a day. Just once in my life, I shared a dais with him in Pune when there was a big seminar of 2 days on doubling the farmer income. On the wheelchair he was there, and still vibrant with lot of energy, and so many, so his dedication to agriculture. I remember one of his very important quote. He said that India would not have become nuclear if we were not food sufficient. And that is the key, because food, according to him, and I subscribe to his view, can be used as a arm twisting instrument in the international diplomacy and international relation. So many people, so agriculture just does not satiate our hunger. It does not simply provide the food security, but it has a ramification far and wide, far-reaching consequences. So with this, Dr. Parmod Kumar is well-known agriculture economist. As Professor Charan Singh said, he is the director of GRI Institute of Development Study. His work is very pioneering. He has worked so many on the paper. He had author and co-author more than 12 research volumes. Its latest book titled Contract Farming and Land Tenancy in India, Prospects and Challenges. He also published 70 research articles in refereed national and international journals. He has published articles in high impact journals, conferred on IDRC, India Social Science Research Award for the work on public distribution system, which is very, very important, because public distribution system directly impinges on one nation, one ration card. He is currently guiding six PhD research scholar, three scholars who have already been awarded the doctorate degree, and has been on doctorate committee of numerous PhD research scholars, postdoctorate and interns. Its major area of research includes agriculture economics, environmental economics, rural development, and development economics. He obtained postdoctorate as Sir Ratan Tata Fellow and doctorate from JNU, New Delhi. So I hand over the floor to Dr. Pramod Kumar, and then we have about 1 hour. So let me just suggest about 25 minutes each of the speaker. Then we leave the 10 minutes for the audience to for Q&A. So roughly, Dr. Pramod Kumar, floor is yours.
Thank you, Vishandass ji, for this long introduction. And thanks to Professor Charan Singh for providing me this opportunity. We were having some discussion, and we had discussion on how Indian agriculture is concentrated on large technology, large tractor-based technology, and what is the requirement, and what kind of changes are needed in the Indian agriculture. So before starting, I pay my tributes to Professor Swaminathan. As uh, you said, he is the inventor of Green Revolution, and this is something which has made us food secure. And we are talking about the technology was introduced with his lot of strength. And today we are talking of reforming the same technology in which direction we can move to. So this very lecture is devoted to that only. As I thought I'll have around 35 minutes, you have cut down the time to 25 minutes and I have long presentation. I'll try to complete be brief in some of those slides. Now, moving ahead, this presentation, reforming Indian agriculture, there are a lot of issues. I think one needs to sit and work a long time to just highlight the issues which needs reforming. Here, I will only pick up 2-3 big issues which are actually the Indian agriculture is suffering a lot from these reforms which are long pending. We have not been able to take steps in that direction. So I'll just be highlighting land issues, which is a very, very big issue. Again, land issue has two basic issues to be highlighted here. One is land title or land ownership issue, land digitization issue, which is a very, very premier issue going ahead with the agriculture if we want to reform agriculture for the long run. Then the issue of land tenancy is equally very, very important. And the third role of technology, I'll be briefly mentioning what kind of technology we are at present we are using and what kind of requirement is for the going ahead with the future. Now, key drivers of agriculture, just I'll highlight, I'll not go into detail. This one slide itself is sufficient to speak for half an hour. Technology related to farming and crop is the one key driving force of agriculture. Government policy related to credit, crop specific programs. This has been the case for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Government is trying to shape agriculture through its different policies. Then the cropping pattern, which is basically driven by profitability, what farmers basically the direction farmers choose. Then this is the environment factor, which probably 20, 30 years back, we were not giving so much consideration. It is becoming very, very important. Climate change. We have water issue. Also, we are using too much water, and I think this issue is very important. Then market forces, market openness, price transparency, integration with downstream sectors. And lastly, the global factors, supply, demand, trade norms, and restrictions. Today we had a lecture in Giri. Seema Batla was delivering. She is there among the audience I've seen. So she spoke about what are the international issues boggling the agriculture sector. Challenges before agriculture: small and fragmented land holdings, which we all know, imbalanced use of fertilizer and pesticides. Even we spoke around 1 o'clock today. Shortage of good quality seed, especially for small and marginal farmers. Problem of irrigation. There is wastage of water on the one hand and scarcity of water on the other. Soil erosion is another big issue. Then post-harvest management and marketing infrastructure, cold storage, cold chain, and scarcity of capital. These are the challenges of the agriculture. The task ahead, which I will be focusing, reform the land policy for accelerated agriculture growth and poverty reduction. A paradigm shift from subsistence farming to market-oriented commercial agriculture, which we have jumped last 20, 30 years. Improving viability of small and marginal farmers and enabling small farmers to benefit from agriculture diversification and value addition. What are the way outs? Improving land titling, legalizing and liberalizing land leasing, promote land shares, companies in agriculture, promote contract farming. Some of these issues I will be speaking. Reforming land market. Existing land market in India, if we really, if we speak, there is almost non-existent of existence of land market. It's very difficult to see what is the demand and what is the supply of land market. Then the informal tenancy against both landlords and tenants. This is informal kind of tenancy is harming both landlord as well as tenant. Lack of investment in tenanted land, everybody knows that. Lack of credit, compensation and subsidy for tenanted land. Horizontal and vertical consolidation of holding, which is needed through land reforming and the land tenancy reforms. Then utilization of land, fallow land, we have almost 20-25% fallow land. Some of this can be, not the entire one, but some of which can be brought in with these kind of different kinds of reforms. Now, I'll come to the first issue, clear land titles. Why we need clear land titles? What kind of problems we face if the land clear titles are not there? The land-related disputes account for 2/3 of all pending court cases in India. This is a World Bank 2007 study. The land disputes include those related to the validity of land titles and records and rightful ownership. Land disputes on average take about 20 years to be resolved. This is, I think, the huge amount the farming community is spending on land-related disputes in the courts. You can see people take loan and go and fight cases in the court. Land is often used as collateral for obtaining loans by farmers. Disputed or unclear land titles inhibit supply of capital and credit for agriculture. Small and marginal farmers who account for more than 2/3 of total land holdings and more than half of the operated area may not be holding formal land titles, and therefore they are unable to access institutional credit. So this the title is not a problem of small chunk of farmers. It's basically 2/3 of the total land holdings does not have clear land title, and that is a very big issue. There is huge holdings which are short of institutional credit, and without credit, it's very difficult to venture into the kind of risk which are involved now in agriculture. So it's a very big problem. Over the last few decades, the economy of the country has seen a shift from being agrarian-based to becoming manufacturing and service-based. So this clear title is not only a problem for agriculture, it is a problem for agriculture industry as well as service sector. This has necessitated the development of infrastructure and a shift in land use from agriculture to commercial, industrial, and residential uses. Land that was earlier used for farming is now being used to set up industries, power plants, manufacturing units, build roads, housing, and shopping malls. However, several of new infrastructure projects are witnessing delays, with land-related issues often being a key factor. These delays occur because of non-availability of encumbrance-free land, non-updation of land records, resistance to joint measurement survey of land records, demands for higher compensation by landowners, and filling of large number of arbitration cases by landowners. Now, need for clear land title. Also, if we see, for example, obtaining a land ownership certificate can take around 60 days in Gujarat, up to 12 months in Tamil Nadu and Odisha. This is coming from the field studies. Unclear land titles accompanying costs due to title disputes and litigation and lack of transparency in real estate transactions make the real estate market inefficient. Execution of new projects require clarity on the ownership and value of land, both of which become difficult in the absence of clear land titles. Any infrastructure created on land that is not encumbrance-free or has unclear land records can be potentially challenged in future, making such investment risky. Unclear land titles mean several of new housing projects may get into land ownership disputes. So this is a huge problem. Almost 70-80% of the economy is facing some or the other way these problems. Now, what is the main issue which is related to agriculture, relating to land titles? The land titles which are in India, which we inherit from Britishers, is basically a presumptive land titling, not a conclusive land titling. What is the difference between presumptive land titling system and conclusive land titling system? Most of the Europe and developed countries, they have the conclusive land titling. I'll just I have flagged these 4 issues which need attention. What is presumptive and what is conclusive? In the current system, ownership is granted based on a record of the property transaction between the buyer and the seller, registered sale deed, which we call it. The buyer is not entitled to the previous ownership records of the property. Hence, this system is called a presumptive one. It means the registration of land is actually a registration of transactions such as sale deed, record of inheritance, mortgage, and lease. So anyone can dispute the transactions with the title holder. If the disputed claimant proves the land as his property, then he will be the new title holder and the previous title holder will lose his or her ownership. These are not the government guaranteed title to the property. These are only a record of the transfer of property. So even if you are owning a land for last 20 years, somebody can just challenge you in the court, and if the case is won by the opposite party, you lose the land ownership. What is conclusive in comparison? A conclusive titling system, the government provides guaranteed titles. These land records designate actual ownership. Once you are owner of the land, you are owner of the land forever. You cannot be challenged in the court. The title is granted by the government. So if there is a dispute, then the claimant has to settle dispute with the government, not the title holder. The government has to provide compensation to claimants in case of dispute, while the title holder is not in any danger of losing the land. These are the guaranteed title of the property. So this is actually what the case should be. Once you are established the owner, you become owner, and you cannot be challenged. If the opposite party wins the case, then government provide the compensation, not the land owner. You are not affected by any challenge to your ownership right. So that is what is the clear land title. You are a conclusive title holder. And once this happens, I think the 60-70% of the expenditure which goes in the courts, I think that entire money can be saved. Government has to ensure that all the land records, past land records are all in line, and these titles, not only the conclusive land titling is important, but its digitization is also very, very important. If both these things are done, I think a lot of clearance of land for agriculture, for industry, and for service sector. I think this can give a big boost to the economy on the front of agriculture as well as non-agriculture sector. Land titling program in India. Land is one of the most litigious and controversial subject in India. Determining who is the unchallenged landowner continues to be a difficult task, since registering only transaction under the Registration Act 1908 is just an evidence of the transaction, which does not confer any title of the landowner. The system envisaged under the Registration Act runs parallel to the records maintained by the Revenue Department. These are supposed to reflect the changes in either records. However, this does not always happen. Some transactions which may be part of revenue records are not necessarily required to be registered under the Registration Act. Because our land is not registered, in case land is gifted, in most of the cases it is not registered, and that is what brings the conflict. This is another factor that is complicating and creating distortions in records maintained under both the revenue codes of the state and the Central Registration Act. So even if the land registration is done, even if the presumptive land registration is the case in India, but most of the land is inherited. And in inheritance case, there is no registration. Even the presumptive registration is not there. So that is what is mind-boggling in the land ownership. Further, certain systems of land ownership in states like Haryana and Himachal Pradesh only deal with share of particular persons without demarcating physical boundaries between them. So I have the share, say 1/3 share in my ancestral property, which 1/3 is that own the piece of land. If land is 10 acres, I have 3 acres, but which 3 acres is never known. And that is what takes the people to the court. That is what settling this issue takes 20 years, 30 years. Colonial system of deed-based registration, presumptive title, and land records open to challenge continue to limit proper land utilization. Now, under India's constitution, maintenance of land records, land revenue survey, and records of rights are clubbed in the state list. In the concurrent list, some subjects which the Parliament has legislated on, stamp duty, registration act, transfer of property, etc., have a direct bearing on the land records. So there are state authority, then there is a central authority. Both can make law, and then there is if there is dispute, then central law will be applicable. So there are a lot of those issues there. To rectify the anomaly in the land situation, the central government drafted the Model Land Titling Bill 2011. The bill asked the state government to move towards conclusive titling, but only Rajasthan and Maharashtra enacted the law and took a few steps. What happened in these two states? Rajasthan has enacted the Rajasthan Urban Land Certification of Titles Bill 2016. So this is related to urban, not to the rural. Riddled with inadequacies, the bill, however, falls short of requirements to address the real issues. Strangely, the bill does not define with any clarity what constitutes conclusive titles and their legal status. Whether the act applies to rural or urban property is also not explained clearly. Maharashtra, on the other hand, has tried better to address the problem of conclusive titling by bringing an amendment into the Maharashtra Land Revenue Code 1966. 2015 version of the bill is available in the public forum. The bill in effect does make an effort to iron out many issues plaguing titles in our country, but falls short of addressing some important areas of concern. Lack of conclusive titles, among many other factors, marginalize and alienate the poor from accessing the formalized markets, thereby reducing their reach to formalized credit structure. The government needs to create a workable, inclusive, and evolving system of land titling and land records, which will allow land market to function effectively, reduce judicial burden, and improve the targeting of welfare schemes. In 2020, the Niti Aayog released the model bill on conclusive land titling. The bill aims to create a template for states to move towards establishing conclusive titles through government notifications. The government has also launched the National Land Record Modernization Program, which was started in 2008 to address the issue of conclusive land titling. In conclusive land titling system, the state will provide a guarantee on land title. The government will also include provisions for compensation in case of any dispute of land title between two parties. So 2020 Niti Aayog has already made a model bill, but it has to be followed by the states. Ultimately, it is the states who are the legal authorities. They have to frame laws in respective states and to implement this. Now, these are the all issues of land titling. I have empirical study done in Karnataka, and we have some 12 more states for which data we are processing. So I will be presenting some of the results of our land titling study. But before moving to that, I am just flagging these issues of land titling, then land tenancy and technology, and then we will move to the empirical examples. Now, in the case of land tenancy, again, as we know, Jamindari system was implemented by Britishers right in 1893, I think, permanent settlement. And most of the land was either in the Jamindari, Rayatwari or Mahalwari system, which basically the interest was to collect revenue, as much revenue as it is possible. After independence, this system was tried to be reformed. The amendment tenancy laws adopted by various states after independence, mostly in late 50s and early 60s, they had the main objective of defining tenants, regulating rent, ensuring security of tenure, strengthen landlords' right to resume leased land for personal cultivation, conferment of ownership rights to tenants, giving up tenancy rights with mutual consent, prohibition of future tenancies, tenants' right of preemptive purchase, building up correct tenancy records to abolish oral tenancies, etc. As per legal status of land leasing, various regions of India are broadly grouped into 5 categories from legally banned to no legal ban on leasing out or leasing in land. In some states, leasing out or leasing in land is permissible for certain categories of landowners like disabled, widow, minors, defense personnel, etc. In some regions, tenant acquires the right to purchase the leased land from the owner within a specified period of tenancy. In tribal regions, transfer of tribal land to non-tribal persons is only permitted by a competent authority. Actually, these tenancy reforms were done in the 60s, 50s, 60s when there was absentee landlords and some people had huge land and others were not having, they were only cultivating without ownership. So these tenancy reforms were brought in at that time for equal distribution of land. But over the time, we have seen that the land has become so small that these tenancy reforms, which were introduced like banning the land tenancy, giving land on lease, that has come in the way of consolidation of holding now. Now we need to reverse those reforms, enable tenancy, bring in the legal system of tenancy, and also allow long-term tenancy like 10 years. If the land is leased for 10 years, probably there are a lot of benefits of the same. I will be talking in my empirical findings where we have asked long-run tenancy, what are the pros and cons for the farmers. Now, this is the restrictive nature of tenancy laws which were brought in the early 50s and 60s. Kerala and Jammu Kashmir leasing out of agriculture land is completely prohibited without any exception. In Kerala and Jammu and Kashmir, you cannot lease in land at all. Telangana, Bihar, Jharkhand, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Orissa, only certain categories of landowners such as disabled, minors, widow, defense personnel are allowed to lease out their land. In Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Assam, tenants can acquire ownership rights on tenanted land after a specific period of creating tenancy, but leasing out of agriculture land is not banned. It's not banned, but you cannot buy immediately. Tenanted land can be owned by the farmer after a period. Specific period it is around 5 to 6 years. Andhra Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, no restriction on land leasing. But in West Bengal, only sharecropping leases are legally permitted. And then in tribal areas of Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, and Maharashtra, transfer of land from tribal to non-tribal communities is completely prohibited without permission of a competent authority. That is for in some particular cases, otherwise it is not allowed. So what are the tenancy issues? After independence, the average share of leased in area was high across the states, but it started declining till 2002, 2003, and again showed increasing trend during 12-13. Some states like Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, and West Bengal showed a sharp increase in leased in area by the tenants. A positive correlation was found between increase in area under lease in land and agriculture GDP growth of various states of India. Hence, it indicates that there is some positive impact of leasing in land on allocation of land to efficient cultivators and raising productivity of the land. Therefore, bans on leasing in land existing in some states should be relaxed, keeping in mind that marginal and small farmers need appropriate consolidation. Now, this is the figure which shows the trend of leasing and trend of productivity. You can see a direct correlation between the two. So, if the leasing is allowed, some of the land which is forcefully kept fallow or land is being cultivated without much of the will, there will be increase in productivity. And leasing, flexible leasing will bring in consolidation, which probably otherwise by buying and selling land, it is basically, if we see in India in the morning lecture also, somebody said nobody sells land. If I have a piece of land, I want to retain it. It's a social stigma of selling land, as well as the desire to be owner of the land. So people don't sell land, but if it is allowed for long-term leasing, 10 years leasing is allowed. In Haryana and Punjab, leasing, the small and marginal farmers are completely now, they are becoming irrelevant because they are not able to survive on 4 acres. Less than 4 acres is completely impossible in Punjab, Haryana. Now the cost of cultivation is very high. So if they are informally leasing out, they are leasing out for 1 year. So in that case, the person who is leasing in cannot do the long-term reforms on the land. So if 10 years leasing is allowed, probably that will enable that land for reforms, putting in investment, investing on a tube well, investing on a land laser labeling, and such reforms, and there will be huge increase in productivity. So this is the basic principle which says leasing probably will increase productivity. That is also shown by some of these studies. I'll skip most of these studies. Say the leasing, if leasing is allowed, if it is made flexible, the efficient producer will get more area to cultivate, and that will increase productivity. There are studies by Dunninger and Nagarajan, Avasti, Bansal, Mani. There are these studies. Most of these studies find that the tenancy reforms will definitely increase productivity. Now coming to technology. If we see role of technology in historical pretext, Malthus, in his theory, he said population increases in geometric progression, food increases in arithmetic progression, there will be mass hunger due to higher population growth, which actually never happened. Why Malthus went wrong? Because he did not foresee the role of technology. Before Green Revolution, if we go in the historical pretext, in the entire 250 years before, say, 1700 to 1900, agriculture growth never exceeded 1%. But in the early, in the middle of 1900, say 1940 to 1970, the 4% growth, like Korea, Japan, new industrial countries like Singapore also, and then later on China has shown the persistent 4 plus growth rate in agriculture. I think not very far from early late 70s or early 80s up to 2010. China has consistently grown at 4% growth rate in agriculture, which probably nobody could think, say 30, 40 years back. So this was all possible through technology. Technology role was not known to the Malthus, and that is how he forecasted that there will be mass hungers. Technology successful only where institutional setup support available. When we say Green Revolution, it was successful because of the institutional reform. We put up a lot of institutions, FCI, CACP. There is a range of institutions which made the Green Revolution possible. So along with the good seed and good machinery, I think other institutions also played a very big role. Technology stagnation in the 90s leading to agriculture stagnation is very much known. Special case we can see is there are basically post 80s, we have the example of BT cotton, which has been a not less than a revolution because of the technology, and very low growth in maize and oilseeds, especially maize, because of the lack of high-yielding seeds, lack of technology in maize, and the BT cotton. These are the two examples which just indicate how technology has been successful in the case of cotton and unsuccessful in the case of pulses. We have been trying to raise pulses production for last 2 decades. Of course, we have doubled it from 14 million tons to 28 million tons now from 2012, 2013. in a decade period, but this increase, larger part has come from the yield expansion, area expansion, and not the yield expansion. So there's a dire need for technology impulses. Role of technology in the last decade, if we see micro, minor irrigation, drip, sprinkler, this is the new technology which we need to spread. High quality seed replacement. I think morning we were talking seed, whatever innovation is taking place. In the case of cereals, pulses, oilseeds, it's mostly the government. But in high value commodities, fruits, vegetables, a lot of private investment is coming up. So there is a lack of investment on seed technology, which is keeping like pulses, oil seeds at a low productivity. But under the vegetables, the technology is advancing, but it is very expensive because it's a private sector led, and the small and marginal farmers they are excluded from the same. We need more mechanization. I started with talking of mechanization, but what mechanization we have in India? We have mainly the large instruments-led mechanization, which basically is oriented by large tractors. Do we need large tractors? Large tractors are meant for the California agriculture, where the average size of holding is 500 or 1,000 acres. We have 2.5 acre. Do we need a big tractor? I think that is what we need to think. We need to follow China, China is investing a lot on small implements and implements led by the women who can run these implements. Women can run these implements at a small level, lightweight. I think that is what the model we need to follow. Zero tillage, rotavator, cultivator combined. These are all large machine oriented. So probably we need much more research and development in this area to move ahead. Now, small implements suitable for small farmers. Himachal Pradesh has shown some of these investment, and in the hill area, we cannot have the large technology-oriented machinery. Conservation technology is strict. I think drip, sprinkler irrigation. It is small agriculture-oriented. 1 acre you can put a drip or sprinkler. I think that can save a lot of water, and it can save a lot of budget of the farmer. Similarly, climate smart agriculture. Now we have laser land labeling, zero tillage, greenhouse, shade net, INM, IPM, integrated nutrient and integrated pest management, precision farming. There, some of these tools are very high expenditure oriented. Big investment, but there are some tools like drip and sprinkler does not require that much high investment. Even in precision farming, there are certain tools which are very effective. One of my students is working on this, and small and marginal farmers they very much they can use this technology. Probably this is what the future oriented technology. Better uses of weather indicators, better capacity building. These are all needed under the technology front. So how much time, sir, we have? I can take 10 more minutes.
Dr. Parmod, I would request you to wind up in a minute or two, because our next panelist, Dr. Prem Vashishtha, is also waiting, and then we will come to the Q&A. So you highlight the key findings, empirical key findings.
I'll just run through maybe 5 minutes if that is okay.
Please carry on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, carry on, please.
So I just want to show this is a study of Karnataka. We will be having other states also. We have sample of clear title and non-clear title. If we see the farm assets, you can clearly see overall farm assets owned tractor by the clear land title owner and non-clear title landowners, and other implements at the aggregate 8 lakhs amount of the total assets by the clear land title owners compared to 4.36 by the non-clear titles. Similarly, this shows the credit access, institutional credit, 71% institutional credit for clear land titles, 43% for non-clear title, and at the aggregate 13 lakh compared to 5 lakh. So huge credit is available for the clear title compared to non-clear title. Similarly, the social participation in NGOs and other things, clear title have edge over non-clear title. Crop insurance also, clear title have much better access to insurance compared to non-clear title. Government schemes benefits away, clear title is quite high compared to non-clear title. This is last 5 years how much they have obtained under different schemes for animal husbandry as well as for agriculture, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, Chief Minister Raita, Vidya Nidhi, Krishi Bhagya, seed distribution. There are different schemes under which these subsidies are obtained. And the comparison is 84,000 to only less than 1.5 thousand. Similarly, in animal husbandry, there is almost nil credit subsidy for the non-clear title. I'll just skip this. Then we try to see what is the cost of changing title. On an average, including the documents, cost, and other, there is some bribe also paid by the people who have just recently changed their title, around 2,000, and the aggregate cost per acre was 10,000 overall for changing title from non-clear to clear title. But the cost was much higher for the marginal and small farmers compared to large farmers because of their lack of access, lack of knowledge, and many other kind of they were like not knowing which person to catch, where to go. Probably that raises their cost much higher compared to large farmers. Then the productivity also, we tried to compare some of the major crops grown there, cotton, paddy, and ragi. Everywhere we found productivity is much better among the clear title because they have the better, they have better access to credit, and they can have the tie access to these inputs compared to non-clear title. Except horse gram and paddy, rabi paddy, all other crops we found the clear title is having better productivity. And then we run the dummy to see regression coefficients, whether a dummy title makes any difference. In the case of paddy, rabi, it was 7,430, higher productivity compared to non-clear title. In the case of paddy, it was 3,724. The institutional loan access, the coefficient shows 83,000 rupees better access to clear title. Institutional loan outstanding also was higher compared to total assets. Again, assets and subsidy access was also much better for the clear title. And overall income from cultivation was 32,000 rupees more for the clear title compared to non-clear. Whereas income from agriculture, labor, salary, income from self-employment, these are not related to land. So there was, dummy was not found significant. So I'll just skip this opinion on land leasing. Overall, the farmers have the opinion that if they get, if the land leasing and long-term lease is brought in the system, they will have much better rent for their land and there will be more investment, there will be better productivity. I'll just skip these results. I can show it later if in the discussion. So again, this is the technology if we see the how the mechanization has moved, the power available and productivity both are showing positive trend. But if we see this power per unit productivity, it is increasing, whereas net sown area per tractor, basically how many hectare per tractor? It was 2,000 hectares, say in the 65. Now it is less than 50 hectare tractor per hectare. But these animal power and machine mechanical power, they are moving in opposite direction. We are moving more towards the mechanical power. Animal power is almost becoming non-existent. So I'll just stop it here. These are some of the new technology implements. I'll just skip these and look forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Parmod Kumar ji. It was a wonderful listening to you, and we really enjoyed. You have dealt so many new tangents to it: land cultivation, the market, the land, and the land size, the fragmentation, and everything. Is somebody speaking in between? Kindly mute.
Yeah, Vandana ji, please mute. Yeah. Yours is also muted.
Hello, am I now audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
Yes. Okay. So before we just give the switch over to Dr. Prem Vashishtha ji, just I want to summarize because Dr. Pramod Kumar's presentation was masterful. You touched so many tangents and all were relevant because land is very important factor of production and how to use it, what are the tenancy issues. There are so many other aspects which are related to you. We'll come to those points specifically towards the end. Let me briefly introduce Dr. Prem Vashishtha. Dr. Prem Vashishtha is a director agriculture economic research center in University of Delhi. He superannuated from there in 2006, but he continues to be very, very vibrant and active researcher even now. And prior to April 95, he was director National Council of Applied Economic Research. After retirement from University of Delhi, he was a visiting professor at ISD and Institute for Study in Industrial Development. Subsequently, he worked as a professor and founding dean, School of Business Study, Sharda University, and professor and founding dean, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Galgotia University in the Greater Noida. His other position includes senior consultant, NCAER, and professor emeritus at the School of Business Study, Sharda University. He holds an MA Economics from University of Allahabad, PhD degree in economics from DE school. So he has such a wide experience. Of course, if I keep on reading, it will be very, very long list. And but to say the least, he's a pioneer in agriculture research. And I won't stand between my audience and Dr. Prem Vashishtha and give the floor to him. Dr. Prem Vashishtha ji, the floor is yours. So kindly start on this. Over to Dr. Prem ji.
Thank you, sir, for a very generous introduction. Let me say right at the outset that though I began with specialization in agricultural economics, also worked in that area, but it's quite good number of years that I'm away from agriculture for various reasons, mainly for teaching other disciplines. But I do retain my interest. So I don't have any recent research results. I have more queries rather as a researcher. Now, I had planned to raise some other issues, but please permit me to pick up threads from Dr. Pramod Kumar's presentation, because that would maintain continuity for my queries rather than my results. Okay. Now, here, I'm taking in spirit of this discussion, it's not one-way dialogue. So I'll take this liberty and opportunity to raise questions as well as present my point of view. It's a wonderful piece of research, and most researchers agree that land reform is extremely important, especially the leasing out issue. I have a query on this front, that if you look at the agriculture as a whole, the sources of income of cultivators on an average, agriculture household. It's interesting to see that even now about 47% of agriculture household income is coming from non-farm sources.
Yes.
Now that means that there is heavy dependence of average agriculture household on non-farm income. It is clearly implied that the limitations on productivity and earnings from agriculture are really very, very binding in a way. It also implies that, forget about the landless labor, even the agriculture households are seriously looking for avenues of income outside agriculture. Now, this raises a much more vital question, that suppose you have land reform overnight today. I'm not minimizing the significance of land reform, but I'm raising my query when you say doubling farmers' income or taking a trajectory of substantial increase in income of average rural household or agriculture income household. It has a limitation in the sense that suppose you liberalize land leasing right today, overnight. Suppose you have all the land titles available, all the digital records available. My doubt is that unless you have a revolutionary change in the institutional setup, along with liberalization of leasing and leasing out land, it will have a very high level of limitation, because though it will increase productivity, but the household who would lease out, especially the marginal ones, they will get some income, of course, rental income, but they will be virtually pushed out, and they need to be pushed out of the agriculture. So it poses a question, basically fundamental question, that do you have sufficient avenue for raising income of average agriculture household to a significant level, even if you have liberalization of leasing and land? So that puts a question mark, and that raises a question that what opportunities are available on farm and off farm to raise income of rural household. Let me say rural household in general, not only just cultivating households. This is a big question, and this leads me to little more disaggregated analysis. And we are looking for a scope for raising farmers' income or the income of an average rural household. Horticulture, say, or the perishable goods, from perishable agriculture goods is one area. And that we know that the growth rate in these horticultural commodities, especially including poultry and all that, so I'm leaving out all that for the time being, has been pretty appreciable. And the source of growth of agricultural income, GVA, has been a very significant contribution by these horticulture crops. Now, this raises a question that there's no doubt about it, that the horticulture crops have a great promise to raise incomes, but the price of horticulture products are highly volatile. So this is a very important thing. What do you do to contain or to maintain the volatility within certain limits? Now, this is a big question before the policymakers. And I think the committee that dwelt upon the farmers' income and all that, I think I had the opportunity to get associated in some way, because during that period I was with NCER, and NCER was one of the knowledge partners of the ministry. So in that capacity, we were associated with that. This issue was discussed in detail. Therefore, you see, the processing of horticulture produce, etc., those are well-known facts. But what is not equally emphasized, rather, is that marketing of fresh agriculture produce is much more critical than even promoting processing of horticulture product. Why? Because it is critical that the fresh produce gets marketed beyond the local market. That is most crucial. And let this produce go all over India. Forget about exports for the time being. And for that, what you need a very different kind of institutional setup. And we come back to the role of farmer producer organizations or farmer producer companies in that way, that you need to set up, say, small cooling chambers, small packing houses near the farm. That is most critical, so that the farmers can take their produce and all that product, you have a cooling chamber, you have a packing house, and it is get loaded. And then comes another component, the reefer trucking. In fact, that is not properly emphasized in discussions. Reefer trucks are very, very crucial, and that can be done by the private sector, so that the perishable goods are maintained in a particular temperature. And remember, different horticulture goods need a different kind of temperature. It is not the common temperature that you need to maintain the quality of those perishable goods. So it is a sophisticated technology, and cold chain has to be maintained. Like the kind of revolution was done, say, by Amul, maintaining the cold chain in milk, I think you need a kind of similar revolution in terms of investment, in terms of bringing technology, and above all, creating an institutional setup. So this is the point that I really want to highlight, that it's not denying that liberalization of land leasing, etc., would do a great job. But I think it has its own limitations, because the productivity, on-farm productivity and off-farm productivity is very critical for raising the income of average rural households. So in short, you need institutional mechanism, you need investment, and you need encouragement of investment in the reefer transport, so that the farmers could be connected beyond the local market. Let the produce go right from even, say, Azadpur Mandi in Delhi to anywhere 300, 400 kilometers away in a short period. That is the major significant way you will get fair return to the farmer, otherwise not. So this is one point that I wanted to focus upon. The other offshoot of focusing on this aspect is the participation of women. You see, there is a great participation of women in horticulture produce, right from growing, cultivating, to selling, to processing, etc. And you are then encouraging the incomes of the female households, because they play a very, very important role. Now, connected with it, let me come to another aspect of agriculture, which is the livestock. Now, what happens in the livestock economy? Now, I won't go into the details of milk production and the kind of revolution that you had, white revolution and all that. That's fine. That's very well known. In fact, what needs to be emphasized in a limited fashion, that livestock economy contributes also a very significant proportion of income of the rural households, of the cultivating households, even landless households. But one of the serious problems in the livestock sector is very low productivity. Low productivity, and number is very large of the livestock. this large number is also responsible for producing high level of emissions. And that's well known, methane and all that. So what's happening? You have large number of ruminants, high level of ammunition, low productivity, and then low incomes. So I think you need another kind of revolution in the livestock sector, where to raise productivity, and then this is where the research R&D and looking after the health of the animal comes up. So that's another area that I'll focus. The genetic improvement. Again, you need a kind of cooperative system or the farmer producer organizations which can provide support to large number of not only the marginal farmers, but even the landless people who are living on livestock economy rather than on land. So this is other aspect that I would like to highlight. Okay, now let's come to some of the issues of political economy. And again, a lot of research has been done by scholars. I'm simply borrowing those results and trying to focus your attention from the point of view of encouraging discussion, healthy discussion. Now let's come back to here. When you come to investment, we know that the public investment in agriculture, it came up once and then again declined as a part of, as a proportion, or you can say as a percentage of GDP of agriculture, or gross value added GDP or GVD of agriculture. Now, this is a very critical point because more than 80%, is coming from the private sector. And this is where I would appreciate Dr. Pramod Kumar's, point that unless you have a long lease kind of assurance to a farmer, then there won't be enough incentive for him or her to invest. So that point is very well taken in the context of land reform, which is connected with the investment incentive. But here, let's come back to the public role of the public sector. The role of public sector, both in terms of creating infrastructure especially for marketing, etc., and creating infrastructure and investment in R&D has been lacking. And this is a big challenge. Now, scholars like Ashok Gulati and all that, they have argued, and Joshi and several other, that more and more state resources go to subsidy, fertilizer subsidy and other kind of subsidy, including power subsidy, then obviously then little resources are left for public investment in agriculture. That point is well taken. But the question is here, the political economy question, and the kind of agitation which you see from Punjab, Haryana farmers in the last year and all that. Where do you go from here? Because if the so-called Green Revolution belt, which started Green Revolution rather, I will say Green Revolution now extended to other areas, if they are not prepared to diversify, which means they are not prepared to sacrifice their income in the short run. That's what their argument is, that you assure MSP to us because they would be in a comfortable zone. So they don't have any great incentive to diversify. How do you virtually compel or induce rather this region, this part of India, Northwest, so-called the earlier period of Green Revolution, to diversify? And you can't reduce subsidies. So you are virtually in a bind, and this has been the bane of contention, committees after committees, but we didn't have a final solution. So I would draw your attention. I think the political economy of subsidy and MSP, two things are very, very seriously linked. It needs to be debated, I think, in a much more open way, that what are the avenues and alternatives open to us? Because this is where the things get stuck. the agitation and the abrogation of the reform that government did, and we are discussing reform today. So basically, the political economy is so strong that reform gets stalled and they can even roll back. I think that is where we need much more discussion. What is the way out from the system? Well, then I will briefly touch upon the issue of emissions. One aspect I have already taken up, the livestock sector. The other thing, what you need is a big reform in the water sector. Now, again, Dr. Pramod Kumar also raised this question that sprinkler irrigation, micro irrigation, it raises productivity, saves water. That is perfectly well understood. But I have a query in that basically, unless you have an institutional setup, the individual farmers is not going to be easy for the individual farmers to adopt that technology. Even if you are pushing institutional credit to a very large extent, no doubt is going to help, but it needs a lot of investment by the marginal farmers and small farmers. Big farmers, of course, can do. Now, you get again stuck up in the whole system because water sector reform can't be done unless you have very significant investment in micro irrigation, sprinkler irrigation. I come back to my old point that you do need an institutional setup. And again, the institutional setup could be in the form of the farmer organization, which takes a collective responsibility on behalf of the individual members for a large arrangement for a large scale credit, because individual farmers are not in a position to do that. So I'll end up my point here. I think institutional reform is very, very critical. Whether you want to make an impact in the horticulture sector or developing supply chain in the horticulture sector, or you want to bring in reform in the water sector, making investment in micro irrigation without some form of collective effort, whether it is the FPO or is the PCs, I think you cannot go very far making reforms in these sectors. Thank you very much. I didn't have my own results, but I just wanted to put my queries to the system. Thank you.
Thank you, both the panelists, Dr. Parmod Kumar, Dr. Prem Vashishtha. Both have, of course, the approach of both of them were different, but both together really made a lot of sense. They have enriched the discussion. And on land is such an important and very sensitive issue. Even I have soiled my hands in this. And 2-3 things, quick point I would like to flag here. One is the land, because if we see the first agriculture census which was conducted in 1970-71 and the 10th one in 2015-16, there is a lot of fragmentation of land. Average land holding size is coming down from 2.18 to 1.08 during last 35 years or so. That is one point. And how does it affect fragmentation of land on the cost per unit of production on one hand, and the productivity, of course, both are related. How does it impact and what are the experience across the states? That is one. Second point is how, because land again is very precious resources, and when CACP is asked to fix the minimum support price, one of the terms of reference for the CACP is to see how the scarce and precious natural resources like land and water are utilized. So, rational utilization of precious natural resources. They have identified only two natural resources. One is the land, other is the water. How effectively and how rationally they are being utilized. So what is your view on this? And on land reforms, uh, the digitization, to what extent it has penetrated across various steps of this? And these are the issues I am raising on Dr. Parmod. And just one or two questions on Dr. Prem Vashishtha. He asked very, very interesting things about the logistics, the storage, which are really very, very important. Because to my mind, farmer needs just two things. One, getting the markets right, and getting the prices right. And the market rights includes how the storage, logistic cost, and how the PM Gati Shakti is going to impact our all milieu of the farmers, and how to reduce the logistic cost, and how to increase the shelf life by storage and other thing. These are the very, very important and significant point. And though I have many, but I will restrict myself to these things. And before you answer, I would request Professor Charan, if he has to flex certain issue, so that you can quickly together address those issues. Yes,
Totally,
Professor.
totally, Professor Pramod and Professor Vashishtha. I agree with Dr. Vishandass. Your presentations have been superb. Thank you for it. Now, there was a question again which I was posing for Mr. Pramod. Professor Pramod, my own thoughts are very much similar to yours. I think agriculture farming in India, especially in North India, with such high big tractors, I think only increases the cost. And I'm surprised that our manufacturers of tractors, so many of them up here, if they could come out with smaller tractors, as you rightly said, the tractors, the size that we are thinking and we have is generally for very large farms, and the average size of farm is so small. Wondering why did it not happen earlier, and what is holding them back from introducing now in a big way? Now, Professor Vashishtha, my thoughts were, you are right, there's a need for a cold chain which can really increase the efficiency, productivity, and return on agriculture farms. But then the issue is the cold chain network would involve huge cost, and who's going to incur that cost? And would you think that the banks will have to sink in money? If the privatization of the agriculture sector, or call it the commercialization of the agriculture sector, which the farmers resisted so strongly, and which the farm laws, which were pursuing it but had to be withdrawn, who do you think now would start with the cold chain? My thoughts are, yes, Amul did it, but within the vicinity. Up there in Punjab, Verka does it, but in that limited vicinity. But if we are talking of large areas, the cold value chain, I'm not very sure how it will work, who will finance. Thank you very much.
So, Pramod, would you respond first and then I come later?
Yeah, I thought if the audience questions are also taken, there will be no time for the audience later.
Yeah, shall I ask if you allow then, sir? I'm Dr. Sen Singh from Gandhinagar. So I'm working as a professor here. Now, question is, I'm really wonder in research and paper presentation throughout the academics as well as the researcher. It has become the fashion, it seems. We are talking a lot. Even I saw many books of the Amartya Sen. They are talking about the problems. Nobody is talking about the solution. This problem, that problem, this problem, agriculture, this, reform, this, that one. But who will implement and how to solve it? That is the
Professor
issue.
Singh, just sorry
Yes,
to
sir.
interrupt, Professor Singh, for the paucity
Yeah.
of the time, please come straight to the point. What is your question?
Yeah, actually,
Without
yeah,
giving
my
any
question is
preamble.
that, Sir, sir, giving opinion is very, very easy. While sitting in the room, going with the reference, citing with the reference, we can give ki this should be happen, this that should be happen. My problem is ki we have to identify what is the basic problem, and second one is how to solve it. Policy we can suggest, that is not the issue. We can suggest plenty of policies, but
Dr.
we
Singh, I
have
think
to find out the.
your question is understood. I will reply, please.
It's okay then. Okay then okay.
Audible, sir?
Anybody else?
Yeah, okay. Am I audible, sir?
Only question, please.
Yes. As you know, around 85 to 90% are the small and marginal farmer who are the vulnerable sections in the agriculture sector. Okay. So my question is that can the digitalization of the land in agriculture solve the challenges of Indian agriculture issue, specifically the minimum support prices and the input distribution system especially? And the second question is to Ashok sir actually. My first question was to Parmod sir. And the second question is, the moment we're talking about the MSP, why not we're considering the C2 cost of cultivations instead of A2 and A2 plus FL? Okay, sir.
May I suggest now kindly go ahead with the answer, and if the time permits, we may take the second round. So, Dr.
Okay.
Parmod.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think the discussion. Professor Prem Vashishtha have generally talked about the problems of the small farmers and how to organize them together, and the kind of infrastructure lacking there, how that can be resolved. I take his first question. I think there are 2-3 questions in the discussion he has provided. The issue of land leasing, Professor Prem, you have asked the institutional setup at the first place, and then for marginal and small farmers, if they lease out and they become laborers, if the flexibility in the leasing system is brought, what happens to the marginal and small farmers? I think there was no much time to show during my presentation. If we see the leasing pattern across India, I have the results, which is empirical work at the field. It's 5 states empirical data. That is what Dr. SN Singh was also asking, that we are speaking on the table and we don't know the ground situation. I'm bringing the finding from the ground. If you go to north, it is basically leasing in by the large and medium farmers, leasing out by small and marginal farmers. But go to central India and the South India. I have not taken the Western India, but Western India will be also, I think, aligned with the central and Eastern India, where leasing in is much higher among the marginal and small farmers compared to medium and large. It is moving from medium and large towards marginal and small in the eastern and southern part, whereas in the north, it is moving from small and marginal to medium and large. And there is a logic behind it, because in the central India, eastern India, relatively south is more mechanized compared to eastern and south, which is much less mechanized compared to north, especially in Haryana and Punjab, where big tractor, big holding, that dominates. If you have a tractor, you are a 5-acre farmer, you have a tractor which is basically which requires at least 15 acres for economical use. So in any case, 5-acre farmer in Punjab and Haryana, in today's context, as I said in my lecture also, it is becoming irrelevant. you have to you want to invest in a submersible tube. The cost itself is 8 to 10 lakh rupees. The motor which you use is 20 horsepower. The electric bill will itself be huge. Any investment land laser labeling. Our Punjab Haryana farming is tallied with what California has. All those instruments which are used for huge big piece of land are being used for small piece of land. So then at least raising their size from 5 acre to 15 acres make them sense and make their economical use of those implements which they have invested in putting up a huge money. So there it is the marginal small farmers who are leasing out, who in any case are not able to survive. They even if they remain in agriculture, they are neither in agriculture nor in non-farming. So it becomes really a problem for a marginal and small farmer. That is the reason these people are going to Canada and US, and they don't want to continue, because small farming they cannot maintain their living standard, which is of their neighbor who are either large farmer or one of their colleague is gone abroad and bringing in a lot of money from there. So these farmers are leasing out. Marginal and small farmers, in any case, even if they stay in India, they lease out. Either they have into some other business, or son and daughter, they have gone abroad, and parents are in the village, and they are surviving on the whatever money comes in return from there, or whatever rent they get. They can't continue in agriculture because agriculture has become very expensive there. So they are leasing out. In comparison, marginal and small farmers, these reforms will very much benefit the marginal and small farmers in central and eastern India, South India as well. My study includes South India. There it is the marginal and small farmers who have 2 acres, 3 acres or 2 acres that take on lease. It is kind of hiring machinery from the large farmers, whatever available in the village, some manual farming, some animal oriented, small machinery, they survive very well. So I think if the present system is keeping the leasing only informal, because it's not allowed legally. So you hire in from a neighbor farmer, from a cousin, or whoever is available. After hiring this year, I don't know whether this land will be available for me next year or not. How will I make investment on that land? I even do not put I'll be using fertilizer, chemical fertilizer, and not the either organic fertilizer or the homemade fertilizer, which benefit you get in 2 to 3 years. And other machinery, the land laser labeling, if they do, I think they can save a lot of water. Or in South India, they are putting a lot of drip and sprinkler. On a leased land, you probably avoid using sprinkler or drip. So it is basically a lose-lose situation, even both in the north as well as in the south. Because in the north, they are not able to lease out for 10 years. They can go into the city, they can earn a better living. They have to remain in village because their 2 acre land is there, which does not allow them to switch off. And they have to stay there. Legally, if it is allowed for 10 years, a lot of people will go and search for an alternative job. And those who will remain in agriculture, they will invest on agriculture, and they will have a much better profitability. And marginal and small farmers in eastern India, probably it would be a win-win situation for them. If legally they have 10 years, they can, whatever money they can put, they have shortage of capital, shortage of credit. If credit will be available, if it is through a proper system, then the credit will be available for this land also. So they can do agriculture when they are in agriculture. It suits them very well. The other issues, I think, price volatility in the perishables. Of course, I do agree with you. There is a lot of price volatility. But our Maharashtra example shows where grapes and mango and all these farmers when when they are having a better profitability in the long run, even if there is a lot of volatility, they can take risk because it involves much better profits compared to wheat and rice and say pulses and oil seeds, which is say 20,000, 30,000, whereas in grapes they may be earning 2 lakh rupees per acre. So even if small farmer, if they are provided with the kind of credit, not the subsidy, probably credit provision is required much more in agriculture. If those small and marginal farmers with 1 acre, 2 acres, if they put a greenhouse and have some training, if the government provides a suitable training for small and marginal farmers, rather than going and working as a either in the city as a informal laborer in the construction, probably they would be much better there in the village and going into perishable crops. I have seen some of the examples where even engineering job people have left and they have gone back to the village. They are put up 2 acre greenhouse and growing vegetables, flowers like rose. Even there is export by small farmers, marginal farmers with that kind of investment. Probably we need to motivate them, and we need to see the cropping pattern suits the fruit, the perishables, fruits and vegetable. It's very manual. There is a lot of labor required. And marginal and small farmers have much higher labor availability compared to large and medium farmers. So large and medium farmers are suitable for producing, say, cereals and pulses. Marginal and small farmers, they are more suitable for perishable commodities, having better access of labor, having small size of farm. Even in animal husbandry, they are more suited. But problem is these farmers, they for the food security, they are working in cereals. Whereas large farmers, they have better investment, they have better capital available, they can bear risk. So they are growing perishables, they are growing fruits and vegetables. So the case is we need to reverse this. The large farmers, they can have 40-acre farmer can survive on the say cereals and pulses. Marginal farmer can survive on perishables. Probably there is a need for identifying the appropriate cropping pattern and then reinventing agriculture. Probably that is the model which can survive, and then also the collectivization we are doing for marginal, small and large farmers together. You have like farmer producer organization where there in a village maybe 50 small farmers and 10 large farmers, they are coming together, large and medium farmers. So those who are having a better economic strength, they are in a position to dictate. And when they start dictating, naturally there will be friction, and ultimately this does not work. If you have FPOs which are oriented, large farmer FPO is separate, marginal and small farmers, they are economically at the same footing, probably they will be in a better position to bargain with each other, and the survival rate will be better. We need a better kind of policies. We need a better kind of thinking for agriculture. And if they are into horticulture, into perishable, some 20 farmers make a FPO. They are all producing perishables. They are producing fruits or vegetables, and their season and their this thing matches. Probably they can put together. They are in a much better position. So small group of small farmers putting together rather than putting small and marginal farmers along with the large farmers, it does not work. We have seen the cooperatives, the FPOs will meet the same fate what happened with the cooperatives. I do agree with all your conclusions of refrigerated infrastructure. We need pack house, we need cooling chambers near the farm. I have been arguing if the government would have built the rural marketing infrastructure. Before bringing in those three reforms, they brought the reforms. They said farmer can sell anywhere. Where did you give the option to the farmer? If you strengthen rural markets, and there is a possibility of putting one market at least in the periphery of 3 or 4 villages. You have provided an option for farmers to sell. So you are saying now we are providing we are bringing this reform that farmers, they can sell wherever they want. They don't need to go to the regulated mandis alone. It would have survived. It would have been successful. You have not done any, you have not laid out any infrastructure, any, even the road is not available. You are saying the entrepreneur will approach the farmers to buy their produce. If there is no road to go to the village, how will entrepreneur come with his car and with his refrigerated truck to just procure from the farmers? You need to create that infrastructure first and then give the option to farmers. Okay, we have created this infrastructure. Now the buyer can directly come to your village and they can buy from you. I think it would be, no farmer will protest. They all will be happy with that kind of arrangement. So you are providing the entire money which was there for investment in agriculture. You are providing food security. You are providing free food to 70% of the population. The huge amount is being spent there. That amount needs to be diverted to creating infrastructure in rural areas. And where is the need? If we have 20% below poverty line, why are we providing 70% people free wheat and rice? Why we don't use that amount for creating infrastructure for the marginal and small farmers? I think that is the question we need to ask, and that is the question where the people who are getting free food and they are in affordable bracket, they should say, no, we don't need free food. Why are you giving wheat and rice, free wheat and rice, when I can afford a car, I can afford a bike? Why can't I afford wheat and rice from the market? I think public is also very selfish. We also have to think about it. Why are we having the portion of the poor who I am enjoying at the cost of infrastructure for the farmer? I think we have to think much more before criticizing just the government. We have to criticize ourselves also. We have to be caution up. We have to question our colleagues who are enjoying free gas and free food and so many other free facilities, which is required, which is coming at the cost of farmer. Probably that is what is required.
Okay, now can I come in?
I think
women-oriented investment has to come. There was
Dr. Parmod, we have overshot the time. So may I now give the floor, request Dr. Prem.
I'll stop it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I think let me address the question from Dr. Charan Singh. You see, private sector as of today is already making that investment in mandis and all that. You know what you see, and the trucks. The difference is basically what Dr. Parmod raised. I am focusing on two things, especially for the perishable goods, because there's a large potential to increase income, especially for women. One, that basic infrastructure, road, etc., connecting village to mandi, and I'm not referring to a big mandi. I'm referring to small markets where the farmers can approach. That is the responsibility of the government. This is where they should be focusing on infrastructure. On resource part, I'll come later. That's very clear. Now, if you have an institutional setup, that means the credit facilities giving to an organization, not to an individual, like FPO, then they take the responsibility of creating small scale, cooling chambers and packaging facility close to the farm. Remember, I don't mean that every village. In fact, You can have a cluster of villages. That model is available. For a cluster of villages, you will have these cooling chambers and packaging facility. And from there, the reefer trucks pick up the things. Now, the fundamental difference is that the bargaining of the price beyond the local market is by the institution, by FPO, not by an individual farmer. That is the difference, because individual farmer cannot bargain. Individual farmer cannot send his product 200 kilometers away. So it's why I'm focusing on the institutional setup. So let's be very clear. The basic infrastructure, road, etc., is the public responsibility of the government, but rest can be done through the credit in a collective way, not to an individual one. That's one point. Two, as far as the reefer trucks are concerned, the private sector will jump on it. You see, the moment they see that in a cluster of villages, there is a lot of produce there to be picked up and to be carried away, say 100 kilometers away from there in an urban market, they would be willing to invest. So I have no problem with that. That will solve the problem for investment. Okay. Now, the other point is basically, and I see several, people in the audience getting very restless, especially Dr. S.N. Singh. We are offering a solution in terms of an institutional setup. See, the whole scenario changes, the credit and the marketing and everything. Okay. Now, the other part is, since Pramod Kumar, you raised a question, I deliberately didn't want to go into, the distribution aspect, but let me inform the audience. I have a very hardcore results from my research, which is an unpublished paper we haven't circulated. You take, and I agree with you some point, my own calculations show that the free food distribution under this PM Yojana, not more than 61% of poor are getting that free one. So 40% of the poor are not getting it. It's shocking. And 27% of this subsidy is going to top 3 deciles. And that is the distorting factor. And my calculation shows from onwards, say April 21 or so, when this free food grain started, more than 1 lakh crore worth of subsidy has gone to the top 3 deciles. Now, this is where I buy your point. This is the kind of money resources that could have been used for creating infrastructure, which is the direct benefit to the marginal small farmers. So this is, there is a lot of political economy in that, actually. In fact, so I deliberately wanted to avoid that discussion on the distribution part. There are ways, there are solutions for that. And this is happening in spite of, using Aadhaar and using ID. This is happening in spite of that. Now, these results are not published. I will have an opportunity to talk about some other time. So the point is, I summarize that enough resources can be released by improving the distribution system for investment in the rural sector, especially for creating marketing infrastructure, but infrastructure of the type which is the direct responsibility of the government. Rest can be taken care by the FPOs or FPCs, farmer producer companies. Now, this is the question when people are asking, what is the solution? The solution, we know a lot of FPOs are defunct in Punjab. In fact, they're only namesake. This is where the hard work is needed, because FPOs are successful. Why are they successful, say, in western part of India? Why are they successful elsewhere and not in Punjab and Haryana? I think these are the issues which is the researchers must pose for a larger discussion. This can't be sorted out right here in this because the focus is somewhat different. But I flag the issue because solutions are available, but they need to be consolidated. And no one model is succeeding any throughout India. In fact, it's a very diverse country. Thank you.
Because of paucity of the time, I must Dr. Parmod, Dr. Prem Vashishtha for giving such a masterful exposition. The issues were many. Agriculture is very, it has so many tangents because I think if even the whole day cannot settle the issues very convincingly, but you have flagged the issue which are very important. I'm sure a lot of researchers are listening to you with, and I myself found you have given new tangents which perhaps will draw attention and will agitate my mind. And we need more time to probe into, to plunge into this water and agriculture. I must tell that the more I try to know about agriculture, I feel I know a little less than what. But
Complex.
I must tell that you have done a very pioneering research, Dr. Parmod, Dr. Vashishtha. You have given very deep analysis of this because you had dissected the issue layer by layer, peel by peel, and give a new perspective. There are many questions, but because of paucity of time, we cannot ask. We are supposed to finish by perhaps 5:30, but doesn't matter because your engagement was so captivating that everybody got glued to this. And I may request those researchers whose questions cannot be flagged to you can they are welcome to send the email to Professor Charan or EGROW or our Vivek, and then they can forward those emails to both the panelists, and at their your convenience you can answer. So this is the one way I can think of, and maybe Professor Charan also has some announcement to make. So I would request Professor Charan to give the announcement and wind up. So thank you very much for being with us. I really thoroughly enjoyed, and I feel I have become richer in my knowledge.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There's absolutely, I totally join Dr. Vishandass in his observations. A very rich presentation. I'm really impressed, Dr. Pramod. You have shared an unpublished article and your research with us. So it is in the advanced stage, and thank you very much for using our platform to share your very good research. And Professor Vashishtha, I understand that you have an unpublished paper on the food security and its distribution and how it's not meeting its target. If, if you think the paper is ready for presentation, we have a time slot in January. We are totally booked till January. Every Friday is booked, but in January we have some time slot. One of the Fridays, I think, towards the end is available. We would like to, if you agree, we would like to slot you for that paper. We have been saying, as Dr. Pramod gave a little elaboration, we have been ourselves saying that in 2014, in the closing hours of that earlier regime, the way the Food Security Act was passed was really rushed, and providing 66% of the population food security of rice and wheat probably was not needed. So if in case you have this research, please share. And as you know, our Prime Minister has been talking about it, saying that he likes to laser beam his policies so they reach the right person who needs it the most. So that we use. I leave it to you. If it's possible, we will slot it end of January. I also want to request that, as you know, today's presentation has lots of policy implications. So I'm going to be sharing with the government. I'm going to send it to them. And if you know people in the policy making, you're most welcome to share it. Tomorrow by noon, we will have the PowerPoint with us. We'll have your recording, and we will use that PowerPoint which Mr. Pramod, Professor Pramod, you have sent us. We'll, if we have your permission, we'll put it in the along with that on the website. If you think no, please let us know. Then we will not. But I think this is a very important policy webinar which we have done today, and this needs lots of attention. And the land reforms thing is almost emerging that this needs to be done on an urgent basis. So thank you, Professor Parmod, for this. I have an announcement to make that next week, continuing our journey on women empowerment, we have an author, Miss Meena Chhabria, who has risen against all odds. She has published a book called Unstoppables. It was released by actor Shetty, Shilpa Shetty, about 2 months back. So we are going to be requesting Meena Chhabria to present her book to us, where we hope she will be able to share her challenges and her journey from very difficult times to her good times now. So I would invite all of you to please be with us next Friday. The other thing I want to mention, we all know about financial literacy. When we talk of policy making, research-based policy advice, we also think it is our duty that we spread the word of economic literacy across our country, especially those places where our students do not have an opportunity to listen to the best minds. So keeping that in mind, EGROW Foundation every evening, 7:30 to 8:30, runs an online class on some of the important issue of macroeconomics, financial markets, Indian economy, things which are relevant for the lawyers, insolvency and bankruptcy code, on all those issues, and at very nominal price, because we incur a cost to run it at a very nominal price. So I'm going to request each one of you, if you can spread the word, and if we can get more people to join us, we will feel satisfied. Who are the speakers who speak in this online? We have retired people from the RBI, from SEBI, from IIMs, some serving professors from JNU, Delhi University, Berkeley Institute. So we have people across the spectrum who are speaking at these 1 hour online courses. So please spread the word, and we hope to serve the country and the economic profession by spreading economic literacy. With that, once again, let me thank all the participants for making the discussion interesting. Let me thank Professor Parmod and Professor Vashishtha for sharing their thoughts. And most importantly, let me also thank Professor Dr. Ashok Vishandass for chairing the session, as well as sharing his thoughts in today's such an important policy-based webinar. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.